30 points in the first contest back with no Aaron Rodgers? I think we have some exciting times ahead next on your Packers Fan Podcast.
Hey, Packers fans, this is your unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, and these are the podcasters you're looking for. One of these guys was once a club DJ in a country saloon, and the other guy gave up his seats on the 20-yard line so 12,000 more fans could enjoy the game live. And now it's time to Go Pack Go with your hosts, Wayne Henderson and Troy Heinritz.
So excited to talk some Packers on-field play. I'm at Wayne Henderson, and this is the show by and for fans of the 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers. And this 156th episode of your Packers Fan Podcast was recorded August 14th, 2018.
And I'm at Troy Heinritz on Twitter. What a great way to begin the 2018 preseason campaign. We'll chat on this episode about what we liked and didn't from our 31-17 victory over the Tennessee Titans. Plus, we have some news and injury updates, and we'll take a look around the NFC North after week 1 of the preseason.
And we're going to preview the Steelers at Packers preseason matchup coming up in just a couple days and share your feedback from 920-3PACK-GO and from email.
All right, callers this week. I love it.
Yes.
Any links or articles we reference during this episode of the podcast can be found on our website. That's PackersFanPodcast.com/156. And we have some new things over there to take a look at.
Yes, it's looking very pretty and shiny. I'm loving it. And I want to, before we dig into the Packers action, this is Packers Fan Podcast related. I just want to thank everybody who helped with their nominations, which helped the Packers Fan Podcast to now be a 3-time finalist in the annual podcast awards. You rock.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
But we'll take it. You know, they say the third time's a charm. You just never know.
Cross your fingers. It'd be great to win this year.
You've got some other shows that are finalists as well. You're sweeping the entire awards ceremony, Troy.
I found it interesting that I'm actually competing against myself in one particular category.
May the best Troy win.
Yes, the Blacklist Exposed and our podcast for Beyond Westworld that just wrapped its second season is nominated in the TV and film category, thanks to many of you that also voted in the TV and film category when you filled out your Packers nomination. And our show that Wayne and I also are part of, Remake This Movie Right, also was a nominee in the entertainment category. So 4-time nominee for me and a 2-time nominee for you.
We'll take it. And Aaron Peterson, the main man behind Remake This Movie Right, is also a Packers super fan. So we got the Packers fans representing in this show this year. The winners will be announced on International Podcast Day, which is, of course, September 30th. It'll happen at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and you can watch the stream at podcastawards.com. We'll remind you as we get closer to September 30th. Packers ought to be, 3-0 by then?
By that point. Yeah.
Love it. Let's dig in. There was a lot of exciting highlights from preseason week 1 victory over the Titans, Troy.
Well, this is a fan podcast, and so I guess we'll go with what the fans are talking about first and foremost. And the fans really loved Tim Boyle. Now, granted, it was the end of preseason game 1, but he would be money if it wasn't for Moore catching that pass. I mean, he literally had it in his hands, slipped right through his fingers. That's on Moore. That's not on Tim Boyle. If he would have completed that, he would have gotten a 50-yarder and literally just, I couldn't believe it. That would have been pretty awesome and epic for him to get a second touchdown there late in the game. But overall, I thought he had pretty good command of the offense once he shaked off his nerves on the first drive. So all in all, things are looking up for Tim Boyle.
Absolutely. And I know it is only preseason, but there are a lot of Packers fans excited at the prospects of what might happen. And even Brett Hundley, who, let's face it, we did a lot of poo-pooing of Brett Hundley during the regular season last year when he filled in for Aaron Rodgers. But in this week 1, after having all the time off and more camp, Brett Hundley was pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah. Almost a perfect game for him if it wasn't for the interception, which really wasn't his fault. I mean, maybe a little bit more awareness that the blind side was coming, but his tempo was really good, real good command of the offense on the opening drive. Definitely didn't look as frantic in the pocket as he did during the regular season last year. And at this point, I would have to pick him as the number 2 if I had to pick today.
Fortunately, we don't pick today. We get 3 more games to check things out and go from there. And still, we hope that everybody involved makes the right decisions.
I'm really glad Kumaro isn't a cornerback picking off passes because, man, that guy catches everything thrown his way. That touchdown in the fourth quarter to go to 31. I mean, that pass was only where Kumaro could catch it, and he nabbed it, took it in stride. That is a great play. And you saw Aaron Rodgers on the sideline. He was like, that's my boy. So I think Aaron was showing his cards on who his favorite receiver might be in the coming season.
I'm all for any more targets that can catch balls. And yeah, that was fun to see Aaron Rodgers getting super excited even after a long preseason game where, parts of it got a little choppy, but Aaron Rodgers was focused. He is amped up, and he's been, trying to make sure all the receivers know that this is what I need you guys to do so we can win.
And if you remember earlier in the week, Rodgers had that real big kind of tongue lashing for the kind of piss poor, I believe were the words chosen, performance of the young receivers in one of the practices.
Right.
And I think they all stepped up except for Moore. Scantling was on fire in this thing. He only had 5 catches, but every one of those catches was for over 20 yards, giving him 100 yards total. I think it was like 101 or 102 to be exact, but over 100 yards, and he was the only receiver in the first week of preseason games to do so. So I'm thinking we might have found a deep threat on the team.
How are we going to keep all these guys on the team? It's going to be exciting to find out how they make that work. Another highlight, at least for me, was the Lambeau faithful. I mean, the new field at Lambeau that you were talking about last episode, it looks beautiful. I mean, it looks absolutely perfect. Nobody's field looks as good as ours. And then the stadium, of course, being packed for a preseason game. And there were moments where you could almost be tricked into thinking it was a regular game. It was just a thing of beauty. It really, really was.
The only thing I'm going to pick on, though, and granted, this is a great time to go down and see the Packers Pro Shop, because most of the time on game day, you're either standing in line through security trying to get in, or you're eating or just socializing or whatever with some of your buds in the stands. But the preseason's a really great time to check out the Packers Pro Shop. So I'm going to assume that's where everybody was in the fourth quarter, because fourth quarter, Lambeau Field was looking a little sparse.
Yeah, but I saw a few other preseason game highlights where the first quarter of some other teams' games looked very similar, and I'm just stating the facts.
Just the facts, ma'am.
But they do have a lot of great new merch at the Packers Pro Shop. I've been getting the emails. I've been being tempted to make some purchases because, the 100th season is upon us, and just that 100th season, I might need a second Packers jersey.
Yeah, I got to get a 100 season Packers jersey, a 100 season Packers hat, and a 100 season Packers polo shirt. Yeah, just take my money now.
Yeah, you just need a couple $100 extra. There were lowlights, though.
Yes, that's true. Byron Bell. So this whole situation is a little bit precarious, strange. Yeah, all of that stuff. Peculiar and precarious, because we have Mr. Brian Bulaga, who's normally our right tackle. Obviously, he's still dealing with a little bit of issues on the injury front, so we're trying to save him up for the regular season. But, man, if Bulaga goes down, then we have to go with Spriggs at the right tackle, and Byron Bell is the backup for the third string at the right tackle. And in this game, Spriggs was benched for some reason from the start. So Byron Bell actually got the start for this contest, and then, of course, he was the one at right tackle that literally got mauled over on the Hundley interception. So I'm a little bit nervous at depth at right tackle. I really hope something comes of this.
So many teams just don't have depth on the offensive line. You hear every year how people are just shoestringing things together. I would like to have some more depth, and hopefully Byron Bell, with some more practices and more preseason games, will get even further up to speed. We don't want to go around having another human turnstile on the O-line.
No. And of course, that's Rodgers' blind side, so we have to make sure we protect that as best we can.
Right.
What'd you think of Deshaun Kaiser for his first outing as a Packer?
I was kind of up and down with him. I mean, he's not been with the team very long, and he's trying to recover from whatever he learned with the Browns, and he has his own style. I thought there were flashes that were really, really exciting, but at the same time, something doesn't look quite right, at least not yet.
And it may be just that he doesn't fit into the Packers system yet, because, I expected a little bit more out of Kaiser, to be quite honest, because he did start last year. And the stats line looked fairly decent, but what I really found interesting was the post-game comments about how he was excited that he could scramble because you don't get to do a lot of that in practice. And because of those comments, I personally want a running quarterback, but I want a quarterback that can run. I don't want a running quarterback, if you get what I mean.
Right. We don't want the running to be his first instinct.
Correct.
I didn't see those post-game comments. Those are a little worrisome, but maybe he was just excited. He got to be a Packer now, playing in front of a packed stadium. We'll see. Preseason game 2 is going to tell us a lot, but yeah, he was a little iffy, but I think he's going to be just fine. I'm hoping that with Jake Ryan gone, the middle of the field is not going to still be a concern for us. I have much higher hopes this season, but they were tempered a bit after this game.
Yeah, Mariota looked like he just picked our defense apart in that first drive. I was like, oh my gosh, it's like Atlanta Falcons all over again. Please stop throwing the football.
Pretty please. I'm going to hopefully chalk that one up with my hopeful nature and my rose-colored glasses that it's a matter of our defense is playing very vanilla right now, not giving away our big secrets.
And the fact that we're also playing like the twos, because I didn't see a lot of the ones out there for this first preseason game, which probably explains why the pass rush was also very anemic in this first contest. But like I said, starters weren't out there. Jury's still out. We still haven't really seen the cornerback schemes come into play because you had Jari's been hurt and Kevin King's been hurt. So it's like we just got to wait and see how this plays out. I'm not going to pass judgment on the defense until the third game.
No, we just can't. But Kevin King, that poor kid, injured, banged up.
Again, it's crazy. And I know that this is weird because we seem to pick like these high draft picks, and the high draft picks always get hurt, Nick Perry. But I know this game is like super, super awesome. And I know we're supposed to be talking about the game, but Kevin King being injured again, found out that it's actually now moved from one shoulder to the other shoulder. Yes, his braces switch places.
So let's read between the lines and assume that means the injury has switched places.
I'm assuming so.
Not just the brace. Okay. I just wanted to get clarification, Troy.
All right. Well, it's preseason. They'll all be fine. They'll all start week 1. Let's just hope that happens. And I think at this point, after the first contest, I think it's very clear to me. Adams, Allison, Cobb, and then Kumaro makes the team at number 4. He might even be number 3 if you think about it. And then Scantling with his performance, I think, totally makes it, especially because he had some really great performances on special teams. And then I think what you're going to have is EQ, as we're calling him this year, for us anyway. And then forgot we have Davis out there still.
Trevor Davis!
And Trevor Davis has been hurt all of camp. So he's losing valuable time. So I'm wondering what's going to happen there with Mr. Davis.
No way to know, but you're right. That's the best way to put it. He is losing valuable time to make his mark and get to hang on to the team because we want him, but he has to get healthier and show us stuff.
Yeah, so I think 6 wide receivers is where they land this year. And then, of course, we'll have good old Mr. Lewis and Graham at the tight end position. And then we're going to have Montgomery and Williams and Jones at the running back spot. And you got Ripkowski still back in there. So nice to see Rip come in and play a few snaps over at the fullback. So I think the offense, all in all, the offense is in pretty good shape. And it's Joe Philbin's offense. So
yes.
30 points in the first game. I'm expecting big fireworks this year.
Oh, me too. And with all the excitement about our wide receivers and our running backs and our tight ends, I almost, please forgive me, forgot about Rip. I cannot wait till we need a good fullback play and we'll hear the Lambeau faithful chanting out Rip. Because that kind of stuff just brings a tear to my eye. But we do have injuries, Troy. What do you make of them? Even though it's preseason.
Do. Well, every time Mike Daniels gets in there and he does actually get to the quarterback, he does that awesome flexes his muscles. And unfortunately, he didn't tear a bicep, so that's good. But he did have a quadricep issue. So he's been limited participation in practice during Sunday's training camp session. He's going to test out the quad again. Packers aren't going to rush the starting defensive lineman back into the fold. So I think we will probably not see Mike Daniels play on Thursday night. Now, Josh Jones is in the concussion protocol, And I think that he's going to be there for a little bit of time. So I don't think we're going to see Josh Jones probably in 2 or 3. So we'll have to see how that plays out. And then Jermaine Whitehead is out with a back injury. Jimmy Graham is still being tentative with the knee. So we're definitely taking a look at that. So I think that he may actually suit up, though, on Thursday to play against the Steelers. I almost said Sunday. See, I'm confused by this preseason stuff.
I know. In fact, it's unfortunate enough that we have preseason happening so much on a Thursday, but we're so used to talking about the Sundays that this season, Color Rush Thursdays, perish the
Color Rush
thought.
Thursdays on Fox. So Fox got the Thursday night package this year.
So we might get Color Rush and Joe Buck on the same night.
Oh, dear God. I think that's when you know that the end of the world is officially coming.
Go Pack, go, Troy. Go Pack, go.
Joe Carriage is also still out with a shoulder. Randall Cobb is interesting because he had surgery on the ankle, and he's still feeling a little tentative on that. So we'll have to see what Randall does. I'm pretty sure they'll probably hold him out for the rest of the preseason, maybe get him in that last game for a couple snaps. And then, of course, we mentioned Trevor Davis with a hamstring, and then Devontae Mays also with a hamstring. Possible Mays is being held out for precautionary reasons. The running back has nonetheless been out of commission for a week after injuring the hamstring during training camp in early August. So maybe he'll be ready to go against the Steelers because he is another one of those running backs trying to vie for a spot between Montgomery. And then, of course, we have Jones with the suspension. So could put another running back into the mix.
Oh, the hamstrings. And is it something where the heat and humidity this time of year kind of helps aggravate those, or just the fact that they're seeing their first serious action of the new season?
I'm sure it's probably a little bit of the people coming into camp unprepared. If you're doing your conditioning and all this stuff, you should come in pretty much injury-free for the most part. So I think a lot of the injuries you're seeing are maybe a little extended heat issue, but at the same time, I think it's more preparation before you get there.
Roger that. Get well soon, Packers. All of you. Let's break into some listener feedback. It's good to be getting calls, and we want yours for next week. Give us a call at 920-3PACK-GO. Again, that's 920-3PACK-GO. Be part of the G-Force, or you can simply go to PackersFanPodcast.com/feedback to get all the other methods so that you can contact us like Rick in Wisconsin did.
Hey, Wayne and Troy, this is Rick Snowy calling with my reactions to watching the first preseason game. My wife and I were both actually really impressed that it looks like both the backups are pretty serviceable at quarterback, and I think, like you said, Wayne, maybe they ought to keep 3 deep this year if this game is any example of what they could really do. I know it's hard to gauge the abilities later in those quarters when all the first stringers aren't playing, but it looks also like you have really decent depth at wide receiver. So the offense is looking pretty good. Not so sure about the defense this season, but hey, in Green Bay, it's always pretty good, and we know that they're always trying to improve. I thought I'd include a little story here. The first Packer game my wife ever attended was a preseason game, and we got to see 2 Hall of Famers. It was the Shrine game in Milwaukee, and Joe Montana had gone from San Francisco to Kansas City. So we saw Joe Montana against Brett Favre with the starters, but we also saw 2 backups for Green Bay who went to other teams and were starters, Mark Brunell and Ty Detmer. So we really got our money's worth that game. So I usually only say go Pack go to encourage you guys. On the Carolina podcast I listen to, we say keep pounding.
I was waiting for the sounder. We must protect this house.
I don't have that loaded, Troy. Rick, it was all good to the last 2 seconds.
Oh my God. I love that Rick calls in because he is a Carolina Panthers fan, but he is living in Wisconsin. So if you're in Wisconsin on a Sunday, there's nothing else you can do but watch Packer football and go to church.
Sounds like a full day to me. Rick, we really appreciate your call. Can you imagine seeing all those Hall of Famers and future team starters all in one game?
And the best part about it is that you're watching it in the old county stadium, not even in Miller Park. So that's a classic experience right there that Rick got.
And you've been to that because your family with the gold ticket package, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Our tickets were upper deck right on the foul pole in right field. So I believe that gave us the back corner of the end zone. So if there was ever a corner fade route that was called for, we never got to see if they caught the ball or not. We just heard the afterward.
Nice. I've obviously never been to that stadium. Is that the one where the famous the fan that jumped out of the stands and caught that errant pass, or was that in Chicago?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the story.
Oh, okay. I have a feeling it was in Chicago, but it was Brett Favre and the Packers trouncing the Bears, which, you do. And I don't know why, but some errant pass was just thrown way off out. I don't know if it was by Favre or one of the Bears quarterbacks, but there was a guy in the stands. I think he was on his way to go down and get drinks or use the restroom, but he saw the pass coming and he just jumped over the railing into the tunnel, and I believe he caught it on the way down.
Hopefully he landed okay.
The landing is inconsequential. If I had to guess, that was probably around 1995 or 96.
Hey, as long as he caught it with both feet in, that's all that matters.
Oh, he was way out of bounds. We got another caller here. Didn't give us the name, but the phone number makes it look like right here in California.
Hey guys, love the podcast. As always, go Pack Go. I want to get a couple of thoughts on the game from Tennessee. I was thankful that the Packers won, even though it was just preseason, but I was a bit underwhelmed with the defense performance. Also, I want to see a little bit more consistency in the run. I'd love to get your thoughts on that, and hopefully we stay healthy this year. As always, great and gold till I'm dead and cold. Go Pack Go. Love the podcast.
Thank you very much. And Go Pack Go, back at you. Thank you so much for giving us a call at 920-3PACK-GO. And consistency on the defense, I'd say that was an understatement.
Yeah, it's hard. Again, it's hard to tell because the ones weren't out there. We didn't see a lot of Beagle out there. So I think that what we're going to have to wait and see is when the full packages get installed and you're seeing the likes of, Jahari Alexander and Josh Jones and Kevin King and Quentin Rollins. I think we need to see the secondary in action. And then when you get Mike Daniels back out there, Wilkerson, and you got Clay, and you got Nick Perry and Beagle, I think it's a different team. So I'm going to reserve my judgment on the defense until after the third preseason game, just because I want to see those guys play together and see how that actually pans out in the long run, because I think it'll be very interesting to see if we actually have something magical that Pettine was able to put together in the offseason in 1 year.
I have a feeling that he does have something magical. He's just keeping it a bit hidden. He seems like the kind of guy that's just going to spring it out there week one, which will be perfect because we can trounce the Bears again.
And the best part about it is that mystery caller will be a Packers fan for his entire life because it's never cold in California.
Yeah, almost never cold in California.
Not with those wildfires out there. Holy cow, you guys need some water badly.
Oh, man, we could use some of that free water falling out of the skies. I'm tired of going outside at the end of a work day and all of a sudden I smell smoke. And that fire's quite a distance away from me, but the smoke is just bleh.
Yeah, whoever would have thought that the sun would actually look orange in Orange County.
Very good point there, Troy. Very good point.
Be safe out there, everyone. Be safe. All right. Well, we got some emails coming in as well from our good friend Steven here behind Enemy Lines. And he says, great first win of the preseason for the Green Bay Packers. And yes, these are only practice games, but a full 7 months without Green Bay Packers playing a football game, real or practice, is way too long to wait. And now we bring on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And please correct me if I'm wrong that we almost beat them last year. If we did, how different of a season would that have been? We would have had for sure 8 wins and even a possible 8 losses instead of 7-9. Yes, Chris Boswell kicked a 53-yard field goal as time expired to give the Steelers that 31-28 win over the Packers in Pittsburgh, which was the best game Brett Hundley played. So I think it'll be fun to watch Brett Hundley in his little rematch this coming Thursday. It's also great to have you guys back full-time for the Packers Fan Podcast, which we can all hope will be a long run this year into the month of February instead of ending in week 17 with no playoffs. Oh. And who's ready for the 100th season?
I am. Go Pack Go.
Can you believe it's 100 seasons of Green Bay Packers football? Now, Troy, how can you even mention trading Clay Matthews? He has been with the team since 2009. We traded Jordy Nelson. Just saying. It's economics, not friendship. I know, Wayne. I know, Wayne, that you posted a comment about hoping to get out of the preseason without any new injuries. Well, that sure didn't happen. And please ask listeners if they are not yet in the Facebook group, why the heck not? Because we have a great community over at PackersCommunity.com. Make sure you go over there, check it out, and you can hang out with Steven, who loves talking about the Green Bay Packers. Now, wouldn't it be great if we could get Chicago Bears, Minnesota Vikings, and Detroit Lion fans all together in a room, lock the room, and saying that we have a surprise for you, and then started playing an episode of the Packers Fan Podcast? Can you imagine all the moans and groans of the fans of these teams hearing the words, "You're 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers"?
Well, aside from forcibly locking people in a room, I love the concept.
Yeah, and that's why we actually are equal time here at the Packers Fan Podcast, and we'll give you some NFC North roundup in just a little bit, Stephen. So let's get some more Go Packers and Go Pack Go.
Thank you so much for the email, Stephen. Feedback at PackersFanPodcast.com. Also got an email from Caleb Fisher. I wanted to put in my input for the Packers game this past week. It seemed to me that there were so many penalties on both sides for our Packers.
I just thought it was allergy season. You get a hanky, you get a hanky, you get a hanky.
The new hankies, they're fresh this year. They're not covered with grime yet. Caleb says, what I also saw was that Kaiser did pretty well moving the ball.
Himself.
Because he wants to be a running quarterback.
Right.
Another thing Caleb enjoyed was seeing how the defense did so well, in his opinion.
It wasn't bad.
No. Just got to be shored up a bit for the regular season. Like you said, no judgments till after game 3.
Week 3.
Caleb says, all in all, I'm looking forward to seeing our Packers playing and hoping going for the Lombardi Trophy. But no matter what, Go Pack Go, bleed green and gold till dead and cold. Caleb Fisher. Thank you, Caleb. That's good stuff. And yeah, Lombardi Trophy, deep playoff run. I'm all for all of these things, Troy.
You know what I'm all for? We're back to game action, which means Monday Twitter polls are back.
Even though they're not on Mondays because the games aren't on Sundays. It's so confusing. But we did have a poll this past week on Twitter. We are at Packers Fan Pod and in our Packers Fan Podcast community group at PackersCommunity.com. Basically, which Packers quarterback showed you the most promise in the Titans game at Lambeau Field? What was your vote first, Troy?
Oh, my vote was Brent Hundley for sure. I mean, if I need a number 2 to back up Aaron Rodgers right now, Hundley's still the man I would go to, even given last season. Based on the game specifically, based on preseason week 1.
Right, based on the game.
Okay, yeah, then definitely Brett Hundley.
18% of the voters said Brett Hundley.
Give the guy a chance. Come on. I know it was 1 year.
I know. Man. I think so we're having some carryover thoughts from last year, but we got to focus on just the promise of this game. 22% said Deshaun Kaiser showed the most promise in that particular game. And
that means that's 40%, which means Tim Boyle is the winner.
Tim Boyle is the winner of week 1 preseason with 60% of the vote showing a lot of promise.
Okay, guys, I know we're fans. I know we love the big plays, and I know we love the excitement and everything, but it is Q4 of preseason week 1. Let's get some reality check. You know, Tim looked good. Not taking anything away from Tim. I still think we should keep 3 quarterbacks this year, but reality check here. Come on. This is why I think like Deshaun Kaiser should. Well, I really want Aaron Rodgers to start this week just to see what he can do. Just one series, right?
Right.
But I want Deshaun Kaiser to play the first half of a game, and I want Tim Boyle to play the first half of a game.
That way we get a fair look at everybody.
Exactly.
That seems reasonable. So be sure to check out even more conversations happening in our Facebook group. Again, PackersCommunity.com. There's more talk about the Packers' victory over the Titans. Remember them?
You waited all podcasts just to pull that one out of your hat, didn't you? We have some NFC North lighthearted smack talk, and of course, more fun where you guys get to meet each other. And again, if you guys are around that weekend of October, 28th is the Sunday?
Yep. It's a Sunday game. Woo, not a Thursday.
And it's in Los Angeles. So if you are there, mystery caller in California especially, we'd love to figure out how we can maybe hook up with you that weekend.
Yeah, there's going to be showing up at the game way early so we can hopefully get the feel of the Coliseum and all the SoCal Packer backers and the tailgating and whatever's going on and meetups and just get amped up and maybe scare away all of the Rams fans because we're taking over that stadium, Troy, taking it over. Green and gold, take over.
Yeah, it's not hard. It is the Coliseum after all.
That is true, but, the Rams do have Ndamukong Suh and Aqib Talib. They're going to be a force. They might be a force,
but there's rumor that the Vikings and the Rams will either dominate or they will fall like stones. Yes, that's right. MVPs all around make this podcast possible, and that's why we do the value for value model here at the Packers Fan Podcast. We basically want to make sure that if we are putting on a good show and you are entertained, that you go ahead and give us $1 or $2, maybe 4, maybe 12. These numbers, that's right, they are Packers players' numbers, and that's why we want to say a big thanks to everybody sponsoring at the Brett Favre level. That's right, $4 a month. $4 a month, people, come on. That's less than a beer that you'd buy at a game, and we're just asking for the entire month for $4. That's $1 a week. The Texas-only Green Bay Packers fanatics are doing it over there in their Facebook group. We got Bryant sponsoring as well at the $4 Brett Favre level. Jeff Summerfield is there too. And, of course, our $4 dedication to lifelong Packer backer Randy Westgame up there in Wausau. So definitely if you have the $4, spare... Definitely, if you have the $4, then share the love. Plus, we have our Curly Lambeau $1 a month supporters. That's $1. Just $1 a month, people. Velvet Eau Claire is able to do it, as well as superfan Aaron Peterson from the Hollywood Outsider podcast, which he was also nominated for. That makes Aaron Peterson a 5-time nominee in the Podcast Awards at podcastawards.com.
It's great seeing so many Packers fans being in the nominations. I don't think any other NFL team has near the representation as the Packers fans, you, Aaron, and myself, and there might be some others as well. We just
certainly
don't know.
are. Certainly are.
Let's sweep those podcast awards. Anyway, you too can help make the Packers Fan Podcast even better. Become a Packers Fan Podcast Patreon supporter. We want to make the show even better. A new season is upon us, and we want it to be better than ever. You might even have a chance to join Troy at a game in Green Bay during the 2019 season. All the details are at PackersFanPodcast.com/support.
Thanks again to Randy, Jeff, Velvet, Bryant, Aaron, and the Texas-only Green Bay Packers fanatics. Bleed green and gold to your dead and cold. Send your green our way. It would be very helpful. Thank you. Now we have other news, as we mentioned, the NFC North Roundup. How about this? The Vikings are falling apart at the O-line as Nick Easton is now heading to the IR as of today.
Oh, my goodness. See, everybody's having trouble with their O-lines.
Yeah, being down 3 starters. You got Easton now, and then Pat Elflein is on the PUP list, and Mike Remmers has an ankle issue. It's undoubtedly concerning no matter when it happens. Unless it's week 2, then we say, "Aw, too bad." Left tackle Riley Reif is the only member of the first-team offensive line with 16 or more career starts.
Oh, my.
And the only starter who hasn't experienced an injury in camp.
Way to go, Riley.
So, Vikings are down. Not out, but down. Then we have the Chicago Bears. Now, the Chicago Bears have finally agreed to terms with their first-round pick, linebacker Roquan Smith. The deal is for a slotted amount of about $18 million guaranteed over 4 years. A source told Schefter from ESPN that the contract should include about $11 million in bonuses. Now, he was selected with the 8th overall pick in the draft and was the last unsigned rookie in the NFL from the class.
Way to go,
Part
Bears.
of the reason was, and this is interesting because this is part of these new rules, right? Part of the reason for his holdout was language in the contract that would allow the team to reclaim some of the guaranteed money if the linebacker is suspended under the NFL's new helmet contact rules. A source previously confirmed this to ESPN also. Now, Smith is expected to report as early as Monday night and could play in the Bears' next preseason game on Saturday when they play at the Denver Broncos.
Go Broncos. That's a strange thing to be worried about in your contract.
It's guaranteed money. Don't take away my guarantee, man. That's why it's called guarantee.
Then don't violate the helmet contact rules.
Yeah, but you know how these refs are. They throw the flag very quickly because they're trying to be overprotective when it's really not a contact. And we saw some of that even during the Packers-Titans game where it's just like, it was close, but let it slide.
Yeah, Hockley looks like he lost 35 years off of him since we last saw him.
And 35 inches off his biceps. What? Got to work out some more to get up to your dad.
Yes, Ed Hockley retired. We will miss you. I still always remember him dressing up like Jacob from Lost one year for Halloween. But good luck to his son.
Well, the Lions may have found a running back again. Kerryon Johnson against mostly Oakland's second-team defense did look like a strong, shifty, potentially game-changing back in their last preseason game that Detroit has been searching for since Reggie Bush of 2013. And really, they haven't had a great running back since Barry Sanders in the 90s. The 90s?
For sure.
I hear some fashion stuff is coming back from the 90s. That's kind of scary there.
Oh, no. Make it stop.
Well, it wasn't the highlight 57-yard run that didn't count either. That should offer the most confidence from the rookie from Auburn. No, it was actually a run where he barely got back to the line of scrimmage. It was a busted play, a play that last year for the Lions would have been a 3-yard loss or worse. Yet surrounded by two Oakland defenders, Johnson did make both defenders miss before getting back to the line. Yardage disaster saved, and the Lions moved on to another play. So I think in the end, the Lions fans can finally keep calm and carry on.
Fine. that pun, that was good as the... Remember the Titans.
Carry on my wayward son. Oh, wait. No.
More karaoke from Troy Heinrichs, ladies and gentlemen. This is good stuff. You know, we're just trying to get back into regular season form ourselves. We're getting there. Game 3 of the preseason, that's where it really comes together.
It sure does. It sure does. Well, let's move on and talk about what's happening on Thursday night against the Pittsburgh Steelers. My brother is actually going to be at that game in our preseason seats, so that's cool. Well, this just in, Roethlisberger may be out. Yes, he's being evaluated for a concussion that he received during practice today, August 14th. So I expect we will see a lot of Mason Rudolph in his place. Also, Landry Jones, Antonio Brown, nor defensive lineman Cameron Hayward will be suiting up. So this is another good test, but not quite a real one for the Packers defense just yet. Now, Big Mike did say that he's looking to get AR-12 some game action this week. Don't expect more than a series or two, but we should see the captain of the ship back at the wheel since the break he got last season. Sorry, that one was bad. Get it? Break.
That's all right. It was good stuff, man.
Something to keep an eye out, though, for during this game is the running backs versus the running backs. Yes, that's right. The Pittsburgh running backs, you know that Le'Veon Bell is a lock, and James Conner is most likely in as well. But the rest of the Pittsburgh running backs could be fodder for picking up after the cutdowns commence. And the Packers ourselves are in no way 100% solid at running back, although on paper it looks like they should be. So I wouldn't be surprised if Goody takes a look at maybe how the Pittsburgh running backs are doing in this game as well and pick up someone else's scraps.
Really? So he might actually be scouting the Steelers to see if there's anybody that might end up getting cut, and he'll bring him into the Packers?
Yeah, very good possibility.
Interesting. Well, I know there's also all the rumors that we're keeping our eye on Khalil Mack of the Raiders, but that one's complicated. But I've been seeing so many tweets about it. Like, what do you think the odds are? Would you put $20 down on Packers getting him? I'm not going to bet on something like that, but if it happens, it'll be very nice.
I might put 20 down. I don't know if I'd put 100 down.
It's the 100th season, Troy.
I'll take 20 on a flyer.
But then again, the predictions are just for entertainment purposes only, as Hank Davis used to say on his podcast. Let's check out the official Packers dope sheet for the Steelers at Packers preseason game. And of course, we will link to the full, beautiful, official Packers dope sheet at our website at PackersFanPodcast.com/156. This is the first preseason contest between the Steelers and Packers at Lambeau Field since 1996, which was a 24-17 Green Bay victory. That seems reasonable. We could do
You know what they say about history?
It repeats.
Those that don't learn from it tend to repeat it. So let's repeat it.
All right. Here's to ignorance. Go, Pack, go. The Packers have won 6 consecutive preseason home games and 8 of the last 9 preseason games played at Lambeau Field. Can I get a go, Pack, go?
That's only preseason.
Okay.
Does that
Burst my bubble.
Work that into the regular season stats, and then maybe we'll have a conversation.
Oh, we will have a conversation, let me tell you. The Packers currently have an 89-man roster that is composed of 44 offensive players, 41 defensive players, and 4 specialists. So it is pretty close to 50-50 right there, which is, I guess, what you're kind of shooting for.
Well, and I wonder, because normally they keep 90 usually, so I wonder what the extra spot is, if that's reserved for somebody or if they just moved somebody and they haven't replaced them yet. So I'm interested to see where the 90th person is. But they got a cut down, I think, coming up here after game 3, correct?
That sounds about right. And maybe it's a secret silver and black spot that they're holding.
It could be. Ooh.
We'll see. Now, Mike McCarthy and Steelers coach Mike Tomlin, very similar in their stats. Mike McCarthy, 131, 78, and 1. Mike Tomlin, 124 and 67, and McCarthy's in his 13th NFL season, and Tomlin is in his 12th NFL season. Now, of course, when you talk Packers-Steelers stats, let's not forget about our most recent Super Bowl victory when we beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in Dallas, our home away from home, 31-25. Now, that's worth a go, Pack, go.
Go, Pack, go.
And one notable connection that really jumped out was Pittsburgh safety. You recognize the name, Morgan Burnett. He was selected by Green Bay in the 3rd round of the 2010 NFL Draft and played for our Green and Gold Packers from 2010 to 2017. Get ready for Thursday night's big preseason game against the Steelers. The Packers dope sheet, again, linked at PackersFanPodcast.com/156.
See how Wayne was excited? It's like, get ready for Thursday night football. What?
And it's preseason. But on the plus side, it's not Color Rush. So
this is true. This is true.
There's pluses to all these things.
Wow. Well, we all picked Packers wins last week.
Duh.
Let's see. I was 4 points off the Titans. I was 7 points off the Packers. You were 10 points off the Packers and 3. So that makes 13, carry the 1, multiply to the power. You go first.
Okay. Believe it or not, I'm going to pick a Packers preseason victory. It's going to be a close one, though. Packers 28, Steelers 21.
I'm going more highfalutin because Aaron Rodgers is back. So I'm going to say 35-20.
Interesting. Steelers going to miss an extra point, or are they going to go with 6 field goals? Or
no, they're going to go 2 tutties with 2 field goals.
Oh, okay.
Because they're going to get 1 tutty in the 4th quarter. It always happens in a preseason game. That's why we're going to get the extra 7 points over yours.
Sign us up. The weather, it looks pretty good. I mean, it's going to be partly cloudy, high of around 77 degrees, but 88% humidity on Thursday night.
Well, now we can see if the ball really has that hang time up there because it's just going to sit in the soup on those punts.
As soon as I saw that 88% humidity, I thought of when we were in Philadelphia a couple of weeks ago for Podcast Movement. It was like, oh, you could hardly move through the wet air.
Or more when I was in Costa Rica this past weekend. Man, was it humid down there. Holy cow. Just literally sat in soup.
Our humidity here in SoCal is finally gone, so come on out. The dry heat, good stuff.
Yeah, except you have 88% ash.
Man, nothing's perfect. Yeah, the ash, I'm hoping that'll be gone very soon. It'll definitely be gone by the end of October when you come out to for the Rams-Packers game. But
That would be great.
And of course, since it is summertime, I want to tout another podcast I've got happening. Got one here for Hulu's Castle Rock.
There's something really strange about the town called Castle Rock.
And this summer, J.J. Abrams and Hulu are bringing some of Stephen King's Castle Rock stories to life. Or to death.
Join us, Jeff Gentry and Wayne Henderson, in the Castle Rock Zone as we share your thoughts about each episode of Hulu's Castle Rock.
Listen and subscribe to the podcast and be part of the fun at castlerockzone.com. Part of the Golden Spiral Media Podcast Network. Yeah, the Castle Rock Zone on Golden Spiral Media. Have you been watching Castle Rock, Troy?
I am. I am on episode 4 of Castle Rock. So I finally I'm starting the weekly watch, even though I'm 3 weeks behind.
No, you're pretty close. There's only been 5 episodes that have aired. And woo-wee, the last 10 minutes of last week's episode, good stuff. Stephen King's Castle Rock on Hulu. Check it out. And by the time you hear this podcast, the 6th episode will be out. And then join in on the fun with our podcast, me and Jeff Gentry at castlerockzone.com.
If you don't have Hulu yet, you can go ahead and sign up at mediavoiceovers.com/Hulu. And that will also give Wayne a little bit of a kickback for signing up for the service.
Yeah, and you get a 30-day free trial. So if you time it just right, you could see actually the entire series probably. Binge watch the first 5 or 6 and be ready for the final ones, and then get sucked into the Hulu universe. And while you're there, you could also then watch Stephen King's 11/22/63 from last year and join Troy and I on 11/22/63, A Look Back.
Right, that's right. I love my Hulu. I wouldn't go anywhere without it.
No, don't. It's not safe.
Even to Costa Rica, because I was still able to watch my shows.
Oh, nice.
Love it. Well, that concludes this week's episode of the Packers Fan Podcast. Remember, it is an unofficial Packers Fan Podcast. We are not affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers. However, if you can help us get media passes for the games when we can get up there, that would be great. Just email us at media@packersfanpodcast.com.
And again, be sure to follow us all season long and even after the season on Twitter at PackersFanPod. We'll have Monday Twitter polls once the games start happening on Sundays. And you can follow me on Twitter at Wayne Henderson.
And until then, we'll have Friday Twitter polls instead.
Exactly.
And you can follow me. I'm at Troy Heinrichs. Be sure to join the Packers Fan Podcast community. We want to grow that significantly this season because we are on our way to another Super Bowl victory. At least I hope so. Anyways, visit PackersFanPodcast.com/community or PackersCommunity.com, which might be easier to remember. PackersCommunity.com to join the conversation.
And tell a friend about it. Keep the conversations going. We'll be back next week with another fun episode of Packers Talk. But for the meantime, we just want to thank you for listening to this episode of your Packers Fan Podcast.
That's right. Subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Do not miss an episode as we break down the road to 53 as we prepare for the 2018 regular season campaign. With that, let's get hyped for the Steelers coming to town. Let me hear you now. Cheer along. Go Pack, go! New York, London, Paris, Munich. Everybody's talking about the Packers Fan Podcast.